This episode of the Primal Scream podcast is brought to you by It Works independent distributor Kathy Sculla. Have you tried that crazy wrap thing? It tightens, tones, and firms any area from the neck down. It Works also provides a wide variety of premium supplements, along with a full skincare line. I personally use their multivitamins and greens, and if you're interested in learning more about It Works products or the business opportunity, call or text Kathy at 319-360-2009 or go to her website, kathysculla.myitworks.com. That's CATHYSKALA.myitworks.com.
All right, we want to thank our sponsor, Sauce Hockey. I love Sauce Hockey because they have super unique clothing. It's all kind of hockey based, but it's not part of any hockey program, so to speak. It's got like cool sayings on their shirts, and again, the most comfortable shirts ever. They have fantastic hats. They have fedoras. They have baseball caps. They have all kinds of stuff. Just a wonderful, wonderful company. We wish them the best because we'd like them to be picked up by the NHL someday. But until then, there's that wonderful little company that everybody loves to get the best frickin' t-shirts in the world from. I just love how comfy they are. Do you like their t-shirts as well?
I love all their stuff.
Good. All right. So Sauce Hockey, please pick them up. We want to thank our next sponsor, Eco Lips. They're one of our absolute favorites. Steve Shriver, Entrepreneur of the Year for Iowa. It's his company. They are organic. They're vegan, if you would like. They have some wonderful, wonderful flavors. They can make just about anything you want because they have this incredible thing called create your own Eco Lips called My Eco Lips. So they can put different flavors, different containers, different coats on the outside so you can see what they look like and have your name and be flashy. But they just do wonderful, wonderful stuff. And I personally appreciate the Mongo Lip, which has mint and peppermint, kind of a minty hemp oil kind of thing. I just think it's freaking fantastic. Do you like? What's your favorite?
You said Mango Kiss.
Mango Kiss.
I like the Mango Kiss. I also like the One World.
Oh yeah,
the One World mint.
That eco container.
Yeah, I really enjoy that.
Me too. So please go to ecolips.com and you can check out all their stuff. Steve Shriver's wonderful little daughter has a great video on there as well. So check out ecolips.com.
Another sponsor that we have is Sweet Raw Joy. Go to sweetrawjoy.com. Check it out. Their website is Desserts to Live For.
They're so freaking yummy.
I love Sweet Raw Joy because when you are trying to watch what you eat, trying to eat healthy, but you need something sweet. All of us have those midnight cravings that are super sweet, and we want to get rid of that.
This also goes one step further. You know why?
Why?
Because you don't even have to worry about those things. You want something sweet. You're thinking about maybe having some, regular convection sugar kind of thing. This stuff is easily a dessert that you should eat anytime you want to when you want something sweet. Not just because it's raw, because it tastes fantastic.
And it's super filling. So things that you would normally just sit and eat the whole bag of, you simply can't do that with Sweet Raw Joy. You have a couple pieces of their fudge, boom, you're done. You're full.
Love it.
So go to sweetrawjoy.com and check out your own desserts today. One of our sponsors who helps us out quite a bit is Penguins Comedy Club. Go to penguinscomedyclub.com and you will see all of their comedians for that week that are going to be performing. So if you don't know what you're going to be doing in the Cedar Rapids area, go to penguinscomedyclub.com and check them out. Also, if you want to schedule an entertainer or you need an entertainer for your company or business or get together, go to usaentertainmentagency.com. Our great friend Jeff Johnson runs that, and
he hooks us up with great comedians all the time. We haven't had one yet that hasn't been a blast to talk to.
So you need somebody for entertainment, you need somebody for weddings, festivals, fairs, corporate, media, whatever.
Oh, I want Doug Thompson at a Renaissance festival. That would be great.
How wonderful would that be? Anyway, go to usaentertainmentagency.com to check out more information and get a hold of Jeff Johnson.
Thanks, Jeff.
Wake up. It's time for Primal Scream.
Hey, we're here at Cobble Hill in Cedar Rapids, downtown Cedar Rapids with Josh. Josh, what are you going to do for us today?
I'm going to do a cocktail called The Father.
The Father.
Came up with it opening night, and it was substitute for an after-dinner drink. The owner's father wanted a Drambuie, which we don't carry. We have a kind of eclectic liquor selection.
Yeah.
Trying to support small family-run distilleries as most we can. And,
Nice.
we just didn't have it, so I told him I'd make him something and get as close as I could to it. And
Okay.
everyone ended up loving it so much that we put it on the menu and been there ever since. So
That's awesome.
We named it The Father.
The Father.
Kind of. So we're gonna have
And you've been bartending, you said, for 9 years.
9 years. So
Yeah.
started.
You just interrupted him. What was that?
So this is Saint Germain elderflower liqueur. And we're gonna take some Cedar Ridge apple brandy.
Nice.
Originally, this had a rosemary component in it, but as we change out our mixers with the seasons, the rosemary syrup that we had got subbed out for lavender, which also works wonderfully in the drink. But things just changed a little bit over time, and so the lavender syrup.
So, having bartended for 9 years, you've seen this whole mixology culture kind of start and
I
become
kind of
such a
grew
popular-
up like into
Through all
it,
that?
and a couple years ago I got involved in some mixology competitions and stuff, and that really drove.
How does one get into a mixology competition? I mean, I'm a beer connoisseur now, but that's only because I like to drink beer.
That's really
So-
pushing it, connoisseur.
I'm not really a
that's way too
connoisseur. I'm
much.
just a
consumer.
I'm just a consumer.
You're a great
out there.
consumer. Yeah.
How does one get into that? A
Well,
mixology
you
competition?
end up getting your liquor rep really drunk. He's like, "You should come do this competition." So,
Nice.
I had a lot of bar tricks when I worked in sports bars and stuff like that, and it was kind of a flair competition. It was the first one I got into, and he's like, "Oh, you'd be great for this," and jumped into it, made the finals the first year, and that kind of hooked me on it.
Wow.
So then
So you don't do the whole Tom Cruise thing. You're not like Flair, like flipping bottles around.
I can do some of it, but I haven't practiced it in a while. So
I'm not going to ask you to
No,
do
no.
anything. I don't want you to make a mess.
depending on how much you want me to break bottles or spray with liquor.
Yeah.
Like,
What was that last one? It looked like it was homemade.
this is honey ginger syrup. It's homemade.
Oh,
So
wow.
honey, water, and then we take ginger juice, which is just pureed ginger with water.
Yeah.
Squeeze out all the solids and mix that together in our ratio. And nice and earthy. You know, there's a lot of honey syrup, so we just have this little tweak on one.
Just so you know, and I'll probably say this a lot later on with Andy making us lunch, but you've already put more time and energy into this drink than I do for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and any of the drinks I've ever done,
Nice.
which is pretty cool. I like it.
It's pretty.
Yeah, all of our mixers are made from scratch. You know, there's a lot of things we don't carry. I mean, we're not juicing cranberries, so we don't have cranberry juice.
Okay.
You know, it can get kind of challenging to come up with different drinks. But on the same note, you get a much higher quality drink when you do things this
Sure.
way.
Well, it's good to push the people of Cedar Rapids to another level as well. We're a blue
Yes.
collar town, so it's
We
it's a
very
good
much
thing.
are. I'll put a little ice in here, and then
I'm getting excited.
dash of our bitters. Just give this a quick stir. So stirring, we're incorporating, but mostly chilling and diluting. So we want any cocktail to be just Arctic cold, and then to proper dilution of it.
All right.
I've become a big fan of the Cedar Ridge bourbon on ice. Do you like their bourbon better?
Their
Are you a whiskey
bourbon's
guy?
kind of middle of the road for me.
Okay.
I love their brandies and a few other products that they have.
What's
Bourbon's
your-
just so hard to do though too. That
What's your
it's-
favorite bourbon?
Oh, that's a tough question.
Because I like them quite a bit because I think it's the only bourbon that I've had on the rocks that I could tolerate. It has a good enough flavor because I've Maker's Mark and some of those other ones I just can't.
Yeah,
drink it at all.
Maker's is really, really strong. bourbon flavor. The Cedar Age is a little bit more mild for people.
If you had to recommend a rookie to go to something that's pretty good, is there one you would recommend?
For bourbon, I'm kind of a fan of the cheaper bourbons.
Okay.
As long as you're actually in a bourbon category, especially for someone starting out, there's no sense in spending $100 on a bottle to realize, oh God, I don't know if I like this.
Yeah.
And there's some wonderful value-priced spirits out there too.
Okay.
Actually did an analysis on bourbon where I took the ratings of different websites, compared to the price, got a trend line. So if it's this quality, it should be this price, and then compared all the bourbons that I had in my list back to that trend line, so I got a ratio where they fell.
Okay.
And a lot of your big names aren't on there, or they're on the bottom as far as worst ratio. But you have like Elmer T. Lee is great value for the money if you can find it. The Four Roses Yellow Label, we have their single barrel here. Pretty much tops the list out for the best value for the money.
Four Roses Yellow Label. All right.
So if you're looking to,
I am
kind of try some quality for not spending too much.
Sure.
And a lot of my recommendations are kind of based on that. Back to your original question, my favorite bourbon is probably Black Maple Hills. The original, which you almost can't find anymore, they sold the company off and they changed how they did it. So it's not the same bourbon anymore. There's a couple of bottles floating around that you can still get with the old stuff. But even
hundreds of dollars, probably that kind of. Is it that?
Well, so even when it was readily available, it was $70-ish a bottle, and so now like I'm down to, if I want to find a bottle of it, I've got to hunt around on, someone's got a bottle that they've been holding on to, and if they know that it's not around anymore and it's good whiskey, like they're gonna just we'll get a glass. One of the other things we do is large ice cubes. So the more volume of ice to the surface ratio, the slower the ice is going to melt, and that's going to make your drink last a lot longer. Or if you were just drinking like bourbon on the rocks and your first sip was a little too strong, you can wait just a little bit for that dilution to settle down the whiskey, and then you get in that time frame a lot longer. If I just did, standard rock ice, you got about a 2 or 3 minute window where it's like keeps the same flavor profile.
Oh, gotcha.
And then it just starts diluting down. Everyone's been out to the bar and had that drink that's just, that's watered down, and tosses it out. The large ice just helps extend that out.
Okay.
And then we have an orange peel. It just brightens this up a little bit. We just squeeze the oils in, right around the rim.
You know what?
Pretty.
I'll probably. Are you going to take a drink of this?
I'll have a sip.
Go ahead and have a sip.
You go first.
All right.
He wants the bottom.
It smells awesome.
He's not a mixed drink guy, so this will be interesting.
That's fantastic.
It's one of our sweeter cocktails, designed to be that after dinner drink, but
that's yummy.
I could see us just doing. You know what? Maybe we should just do podcasts here every week.
It's probably too sweet a drink for me. But
a little too sweet for you?
All the flavors are really fantastic.
Yeah, everything comes out in it.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Love the ice cube.
I have a whole fridge full I don't ever use because I don't drink enough whiskey.
The ice balls. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
that's
sip
amazing.
on that for later on.
It's all you, buddy.
While Andy's
That's awesome.
cooking us some lunch. Josh, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sir.
Thanks,
Wonderful
buddy.
drink.
Appreciate it. Fantastic.
We'd love to come back and see some more of your concoctions.
Anytime.
We call this our kitchen table. We called it that. It's kind of our version of a chef's table, but it's a little bit more casual, of course. Everybody's seated side by side, and it's more of a kind of a overlooking bar feel. So we called it kitchen table to kind of give it more of that kind of casual feel as well. And no, nothing You don't have to pay extra to sit up here. You get the lovely opportunity to watch all the men at work. So
Yeah, because you don't get this. You don't get this at a lot of restaurants. I mean, traditionally, people show up. Most restaurants. You show up, you sit down, and then just magically food appears.
right.
And one of the things that I liked about reading your guys' descriptions on your website was you're trying to connect the consumer back with where did your food come from, and part of that is maybe watching the preparing of the food.
Yeah, absolutely. You're very right. That's part of the reason why. And Andy, it was his idea to do an open kitchen, which is everything you can see, everything, nothing's hidden. So we're very trying to be very transparent that way. So folks can walk past here on the way to the restroom. They can sit up here. A solo diner can sit up here and eat and enjoy that. And but we are doing that here and then as well. Yeah, you're right with the ingredients as well. So connecting it all together.
So
Popular as we thought it would be, actually.
yeah,
These seats, a lot of times they're kind of.
are they like the first ones to fill?
Yeah, not the first one. I think a lot of people maybe think, oh, do you have this special place that it's like, no, you guys can sit up there.
That's awesome.
But a lot of people do request it. They're starting to request it more and more, so which is good. But
I like it because just for this Christmas, I'll talk about it more later on. But my wife got me, what is it? It's cooking. It's a cooking school. I'm one of the there's a show out right now on the cooking channel, like the worst cooks in America. All right, and my wife, I was flipping through the channels, and my wife and I came across this show, and I'm like, oh wait, how do they make that? So I'm watching it, and she goes, I need to get you on that show.
yeah,
Because I can do the steak, probably not really well. I do it well enough that I like it.
yeah.
Or hamburgers, and she goes, "Oh, you should be on that show because you suck." Thank you, honey. But being to sit down here in your guys' establishment to watch how people prepare things and to cook things, and it's like, wow, it kind of takes the mysticism out of preparing food.
Especially now people are talking so much more about knowing where your food comes from, period, not just at a restaurant. Where's it grown? How's it grown? How's it taken care of? How's the meat raised?
Yeah.
It's one more level of that as well.
I think it's nice from a selfish standpoint. It's nice for the guys in the kitchen too, because typically you're just kind of isolated. You can't see anything. The only thing you see or know is what's being printed or what's being told to you. And here we have this kind of level of interaction with the dining room, with the front door, with the bar, where we're all kind of part of the same thing instead of this
Us and them type of.
And you have the board up there too that kind of, you guys say what's local and what you're using. It kind of connects the front of the shop to the back too.
Absolutely.
I like that.
Yeah, it's a little more sparse in the winter, unfortunately. Living in Iowa, I guess you could say we're geographically challenged as far as being able to get as much local as we'd like. It's much more filled out in the spring and summer, and even into the fall. So, yeah.
And there's some opportunities that are coming about recently for you guys especially, but to everybody here in Cedar Rapids, where you have the Fresh Market. That's a new store that opened recently that I really enjoy going to. You have the New Pioneer Co-op, not very far away from here, where normally you'd have to go to Coralville to get something like that, and everything is seasonal, of course, because it's all organic and raised locally. Right. But now that kind of gives you guys more of options on what you could or could not prepare, right?
Yeah, it sure does. Yeah, absolutely.
And what are you preparing right now? What is this?
This is a sausage appetizer that we're serving. It's a pork sausage made with Berkshire pork, which is a heritage breed pork. Not like commodity pork that you get in the supermarket.
Is that from Iowa?
Yeah. Yep.
I think he was on the Cobble Hill, the owner of that.
Oh, are you talking about Carl Blake?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a different.
Oh, it is.
Company,
okay.
But like similar ideals and similar.
Okay.
We've gotten one pig from him, but this one
him.
specifically is not from him. But
well, I was going to bring up the movie Chef later on. Have you seen the movie Chef?
I have not, but I've been told to watch it.
Oh, I'd be curious as a chef yourself if you'd like it. I don't know if it's how chefs act or you know what I mean. So, but they bring in a whole pig and they totally dissect it themselves for what they need.
Dissect it?
Yeah. Is that not the right butcher?
No.
Butcher.
Dissect, butcher.
Yeah.
Hey.
Dissect gives me kind of the creeps, and butcher's like, hey, that's what happens.
Deconstruct.
Deconstruct? No, let's just stay with butcher.
Okay.
He's brought in a couple pigs, two?
Yeah.
Two thus far, and we'll butcher the entire guy.
Do you prefer that? Bringing in your own pig and butchering it yourself?
Ideally, I would. Logistically, it's a little more difficult if we want to, serve like a roasted pork shoulder on the menu. You can get a whole pig and you only get 2 shoulders.
Oh,
you have
sure.
the shoulder, on for the dish. So I think in terms of like we've done it where we've gotten them in before, and we've done like let's like break this pig down, make some salami out of some, make some sausage, run some specials, and kind of do like a feature with a pig.
Okay. Oh.
But like for like a general menu item, we'll be like, let's get some pork shoulders from Heritage Berkshire because we're gonna go through more than 2 shoulders.
Sure.
And kind of logistically trying to keep that in check.
I can see that.
I think it'd be ideal to be able to do that. It would just be more of a mindset of like changing how people, the format of the menu a little bit more and stuff like that. So this is you guys can eat this.
All right. Now, Todd, before you dig in and destroy this beautiful thing that you made, everything that you have on here, it looks like you have some beet leaves. Am I correct?
Yeah, Swiss chard. It's almost exactly like.
Oh, Swiss chard.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, very similar to beet greens, though.
I
We use
had that
beet
nice movie
tops.
this morning.
You have
Nice.
Who's that?
potato.
Sweet potato.
Yep.
Little onion.
Yep. Grilled shallots.
Oh.
And then there's a sauce made out of juiced sweet potatoes.
Oh, see,
Wow.
pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not bad. I mean, I just juiced some beet leaves this morning, so I'm like, hey, that looks just like beet leaves. And what do you have here? What is this?
So this is a dry cured salami, black pepper and caraway salami. Interesting because the sausage you're eating is a fresh sausage, right? It's salted and put in casings and cooked fresh. This is almost the exact same process with the addition of we put a starter culture in there to bacteria culture to ferment it, and then we also apply a mold culture to the outside of it, so it's fermented and air dried. So this is just basically raw meat that's been salted, stuffed, and dried like an old world tradition.
I ate mine already.
So the contrast
Bad
between
news
these
there.
is really almost completely in the process.
All right.
How it's
All right.
dealt with, but you can see such a difference. In
Did you want to get a shot?
So yeah, before you kill this. All right, so we'll be back after I enjoy this, and we'll have our conversation. Thank you very much.
This is awesome.
All right, so here we are back at Cobble Hill. We got Andy and Carrie. Thank you very much, guys, for making that awesome lunch.
That was fantastic, and that was an appetizer.
And that was the end. Well, there was a little appetizer, and then there was the lunch. Or was that whole thing an appetizer?
I mean, that's an appetizer on our menu.
That's what I'm saying.
because that was filling.
Technically.
Yeah, technically.
All right, so how did you start down this path? Like, where'd you go to school? What made you want to be a chef?
Well, I actually went to LaSalle. It's the
Yeah.
last graduating class of LaSalle. Went to Iowa. I have a degree in biology. I was going to go to medical school, so I was studying biology at Iowa and took the MCATs and all that jazz. And
Wow.
was doing some research, and after undergrad, while I was applying, kind of had some free time and just started cooking. It's right around the time Carrie and I met, and started cooking. She was in grad school at the time, so I was just working and cooking, and started getting into cooking more and more, and just kind of decided to change gears. And she signed me up for culinary school in New York.
She did? That was her decision?
I kind of wanted to move to New York, I'll be honest.
She didn't literally sign me up, but she kind of pushed.
Kind of. I made the phone call, got the information.
got the info, and got it rock and roll. I'm a little bit of a procrastinator, so. And then we decided we moved out there together, and spent 4 years out there, and went to school out there, and worked out there, got some experience, and then decided to come back to Iowa. We wanted to open our own place eventually, and I worked at the Lincoln Cafe for 5 years after I got back, and then broke off, and we opened this. It'll be 2 years in February.
2 years.
And the Lincoln
Yeah.
Cafe closed, didn't it?
Yes.
Sadly, yes.
Yep.
It did.
Did.
So what were you jonesing about? Why'd you have to go out to New York? Why'd you want to get out there?
Honestly,
Did you have family out there, or were you just like, hey, I want to be adventurous?
Yeah, just to be adventurous, and
Good for you.
absolutely. And I thought that, I wasn't happy in grad school at the time. It wasn't good, the right timing, and so he was getting into cooking, and we chatted about, kind of tossed around the idea kind of casually about culinary school, and I said, let's do this. Let's go. So, yeah, that was really it.
I was going to say, so you're both from Cedar Rapids then?
No, I am from Northern Iowa.
Oh, from Northern
But we
Iowa.
are both from Iowa. We met
Okay.
at the University of Iowa during our college years. So, yeah,
Nice.
at the end of them. Yeah.
How long have you guys been married?
We have been married how many years?
14.
No. We've
12.
been
It'll be 13
together.
it'll be 13 in June.
We've been together that long,
Nice.
but we've been married for almost 9 years.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah.
That's right. We met. I was going 2002. We started dating. We've been together for 12 years.
Yes. So quite a while.
When you started this, did the Lincoln Cafe have a lot of like local grown, local used kind of things for their? Is that kind of? I mean, were you already involved in kind of local cooking when you started getting into culinary stuff, or was Lincoln Cafe kind of like one of those epitomes where that it all came together for you?
It was kind of like it was trending that way when I was out east.
Okay.
That was starting to become kind of a thing. They out there, they had the Union Square Green Market. Remember, I do a final project for school, and I did it on the Union Square Farmers Green Market, and the seasonality aspect, and it was in spring, and
cool.
using those products. So it was definitely in motion there. But I think
Absolutely
the thing that was cool about the Lincoln is I felt like that was probably the only place after coming back that was holding on to those kind of ideals.
Sure.
And I was like, wow, this is, and also like the technique end of it, and like the respect for food, and like, that's a hard find in this area. So
I totally agree.
It was cool to
I mean, that's what it was so well known for. Is if you want to go somewhere to get some local food, really well made, really well prepared, that's where you go.
Yep.
Yeah, and farmers would they would show up with things, right?
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but just show up with something and say, hey, I have this, I just picked this, I just, harvested this, do you want to use it? And I think you guys would often say, yeah, absolutely, we'll take it and we'll do something great with it. So,
Well, we just saw about a restaurant in Copenhagen that's using food that consumers aren't buying. And so, asparagus potatoes, is that a thing?
I don't know what that is.
All right, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. But the potatoes were just too big for the farmer to sell, so he's just going to throw them all away.
Oh gosh!
And so he brought in all these potatoes to this. This restaurant uses nothing but things that are nobody's going to use. Not that they're bad, but they have people drop off food. Grocery stores, if they have extra or something, will bring it by because they're just going to throw them away anyways. Because I think it was in America, it's 40% of our food is wasted or something crazy thing like that.
Something probably
part of it is how it's prepared, I would think, because that was a perfect amount of food, and you prepared it the right way, and you eat it with and you eat it with time, because that filled me up. I mean, well, I shouldn't say that. I could eat that for days, but I mean, I felt satiated by it. Right. I had enough vegetables. I had some vegetables. I had some meat. And it was, that sausage was really fresh. That was really great. But but me taking the time to eat that, talking about it, maybe instead of me just chowing down and just consuming as fast as possible, I think it makes us slow down and enjoy what we're eating and talking about it. But go ahead.
Real quick, what Todd was talking about, normally in our studio we have this pipe over to a television so you all can see what I'm looking at on my computer, but this is the Good News Network, because we could all use a little better news.
Yeah.
You get sucked
not all
into
bad
Fox News and CBS and all that stuff.
Some of the local news I don't watch it very often.
We were just getting so negative on the podcast that Todd brought up the Good News Network. Well, we were looking through that today, and the article is restaurant user or uses fresh food that grocery stores throw out. So if you go to the Good News Network, you can find that article there, or you can just click on the link. I'll have that below.
But it was just maybe when I saw that, I was just kind of like surprised that somebody would throw something away because they thought somebody couldn't use it. So why not?
Because of the shape of it, and not.
Yeah, they were too big to sell. It was. I want to say they were asparagus potatoes. It sounds so weird though, but I want to say it was something like that. But they looked like just normal potatoes.
Interesting.
Then he cut them up, made French fries or something out of them, which makes total sense. Why would you not do that? So it was just a cool thing to kind of keep using what we have and not throwing things away so much. And then like grocery stores, if it has a bruise on it. Well, it's just a banana with a black mark. Doesn't mean the banana's bad.
Right.
But I have to tell my kids that too. Eat the banana.
Right.
But it's got these things on it. you peel it and you let me know if it's really that bad. You know, there's no difference.
Honestly, if it
throw it in a
wasn't-
smoothie. You can throw all that stuff in a
That's
smoothie,
what I was
right?
just going to say. If my
Yeah.
stuff at home goes bad, if it wasn't for Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, which you and I, we all talked about that a little bit earlier, I would have thrown that stuff out. But because there's some bruises on an apple, I'll cut that up, throw it in the blender, or juice it, whatever. It's still fine. It's just the traditional way of eating some of the food that we get. It's about texture, you know. But when you blend it or juice it, it takes that element out, and it's still good. So I wonder, it's amazing to me, or I think it would be amazing to know how much food we do just pitch.
I think it's kind of for not to be too much hating America, that's kind of like an American thing. Oh, it doesn't look like it's supposed to? Dump it.
It is. It is.
perfect.
It is kind of.
You know, it's not
American thing.
perfect when.
No.
That's
Geez
kinda-
Louise, third world
Jeez
countries.
Louise.
They would
That's
be
a great,
like,
no, geez Louise. That's a great saying. I wish you'd use it more.
Jeez
And I
Louise.
think another thing that I've learned over the past 5 years that speaks to that is that there's so many things that have been lost with cooking. For example, fermenting vegetables, fermenting meats. You know, that would seem to someone who doesn't have any experience with that as weird and disgusting.
Right.
It's like you can put salt water on cabbage and let it sit in your basement and let mold grow over the top of it, let it get sour, scrape the mold off and eat it. It's not going to
And
hurt
it's amazing for you.
And it's good.
that's really good
Good.
for you.
Right,
Yeah.
Good biotics, you know, like the probiotic
Sure.
aspect of it. No way, you know, throw that in the trash. Like,
Well-
people, I feel like, even for me, who is immersed in that, like learning some of that stuff, I'm like, that's intense.
The
but
meat,
okay.
the meat idea is great because we've been talking a lot about sustainable, like meat, so to speak.
Right.
Sustainable meat. I meant
Sustainable
saying
meat.
that I'm actually contemplating going to learn
Hunting,
how to
right?
hunt, so that I'm not buying things from a grocery store. That I'm not that. But I mean, I buy most of my meat now. Most of the meat I eat when I'm not on the 30-day raw diet is buffalo. There's a buffalo ranch out on Center Point Road, and so I get most of my meat from that because my kids love the buffalo meat, and it's better than beef. Period.
It's leaner, isn't it?
Oh, super! It's leaner than like chicken and
Yeah.
turkey. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But it tastes. It's like the best hamburger I've ever had until I've tried one of yours. But I like the idea of eating things that I, like you said, I know where they came from. So I mean, my kids love to go with me to get buffalo because we get to see all the buffalo running around. It's kind of cool. And I like buying sustainable like pork. I haven't had pork in a really long time because I just know how much they pump the pigs full of hormones to be in those huge factory farms. And so the new Pioneer Co-op opening up, that's all it is. They only offer things that are going to be humanely raised and don't have any antibiotics in it. So I mean, it's been nice to enjoy stuff that I've had in the past. But if I hunt, it still freaks me out just thinking about it.
About hunting?
Yeah, I'm not a
shooting a
killer.
living thing?
I'm not a killer, but we'll have to see how that works. But the idea of you said that sausage was raw, and then you ferment it, and then you let mold grow on the outside. I mean, you could do that with deer meat,
The
I
dried
would
one.
assume,
Oh, you
right?
certainly can. Absolutely.
That would be. I mean, you talk about your bug out bag, and when you're one of those people.
I have a
those,
bug out bag. I don't have a bug out bag, but
if you had a bug out bag,
What's
which
a
I'm
bug out
surprised you
bag?
don't.
a bug out, it's for preppers.
Preppers.
It's for end of the world, doomsday type
Oh,
people.
gotcha.
Why are you saying I got a bug out bag?
I thought you had a bug out
No, I
bag.
don't have any bug out bag.
You were talking about jarring chickens
Listen,
and things
there's
like
a huge
that.
difference between preparing for
The apocalypse.
No, gee, Jesus Christ. There's a difference between having a bug out bag because you're going to have to leave your home because of
Anarchy.
groups of people coming to steal what you have. There's a difference between that and jarring food and having food.
The conversations we had
Yeah,
always included both of those
My
things.
grandma used to can all the time.
Yeah,
Well,
like
so did mine.
that's a part of our
Dark,
culture that
dank
has
pantry in
kind
the
of
basement.
seeped away. Like people having that
has.
connection with food,
Yeah.
having that connection with how do you prepare food, and it's okay to ferment this or that. Like
Well, and-
today, you bring that up, and I'm sure that it's a guess. 90% of the people that watch or listen to this are going to say, "What? I would feel so insecure about doing that." Why? Because no one they know does that. Their parents might not do it. I mean, my mother could barely do hamburger helper, which is I want to blame her for the fact that I can't cook.
And don't say anything about your mom today. You have done that before.
She's already put me on blast because I said that.
But unless you
Well-
actively pursue a passion like you have, Well, you kind of forced him to, which is a good job. But if you don't actively do that, you're not going to be connected with your food, and it's way too easy to do what the norm is, which is just go to the grocery store, maybe, or like my wife and I do the majority of the time, go out to eat.
Well, and there's so many easy things. And speaking of using all of a product, you take a pig, and the whole nose to tail kind of philosophy. But when you get a whole pig in, you're using all the bones to make a stock. So, for instance, that's something that is so easy that people, I don't think, realize how easy it is to do. But take the bones and you brown the bones, throw in a bunch of vegetables that are maybe partially browning out of your refrigerator, some herbs, and make a stock. You know what I mean? It's just like the fermenting thing, but things that are so easy, and you're connecting. You're really understanding how that stock tastes the way that it tastes. When you can go to the aisle and grab a box of it for $3. You know what I mean? But it's so easy to make it. But but at the same time, if you don't have those roots, it's hard to do that.
And was it difficult to learn how to do the meat fermenting, making that like harder salami type sausage? Were those things difficult to learn, or were they not too bad?
They were difficult to make consistently good.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Technical.
So I think as with most things, it's like the information wasn't difficult, but then it's like the practice and the craft and the nuance of, you got to do this, like stuffing it just the right way, or mixing it just the right time, so that you're getting things that you feel are consistent.
Gotcha. And you need to not make me out to be some weirdo, because I'm
not making you out to be a weirdo. You're making me out to be a prepper.
You talked about the prepping.
Canning
you
food
talked
is
about
different
prepping.
than having
the conversations were together. You talked about prepping, and you talked about canning at the same time.
All right. I've talked about how
like Walking Dead prepping for the Walking Dead.
Now that's what my wife, she just immediately throws me into this category, and I'll say something like, or she'll ask me, "Hey, why do you got all these mason jars?" and I'll say, because I'm going to do this. I saw a thing on YouTube, because my full-time job allows me to watch YouTube all day long. All day long. The only rules that I have to live by for my full-time job is don't watch porn and don't sleep.
Hey, there you go.
That pretty much eliminates almost everything else, right?
Right. So when I'm on YouTube, I'm scouring YouTube all the time, and they have these salads in a jar. If you're trying to work out a way
seen those,
to eat healthier, and it's kind of like prepping.
Conveniently.
Yeah, it's like prepping a whole week's worth of food in one night.
So,
some people cook their foods, and so I got all these mason jars. You put some salad dressing in the bottom, then you put some tomatoes, and maybe some carrots, some cucumbers in there, whatever you're going to have in your salad, and then you pack the rest in with your greens. And you just got the jar or the lid on there, and it's good for like 4 or 5 days. And so I was telling my wife this, and she goes, "Jesus, are you becoming a prepper?" That's not prepping. That's not prepping. I don't have a 55-gallon water container in my basement.
And I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying that the conversations you had with me about all these things you would like to do also coincided with you saying, "Hey, have you seen that new show, Preppers?" And that's why I probably put the two together.
You may be going down that path.
Yeah,
in 10 years, you might.
And he was talking about jarring a whole chicken. I'm like, what the hell would you jar a chicken for? Oh, it can stay for this long. I'm like, why do you need to do that?
Well,
but I didn't understand what you were coming from.
Back in 2008, here in Cedar Rapids, we had a huge flood.
Yeah.
And it wrecked a lot of people's homes. And people rushed out to the supermarkets and emptied the shelves. Now, the majority of people don't have enough food to last them 3 days in their house. And I have kids. So after 3 days, that's when people start getting stupid, crazy.
Right.
And if you can just stay in your home during a disaster like that, if you're not helping, which you should be helping, sandbagging, then you don't have to worry. You don't have the stress of, all right, do I have any bottled water? Which I don't have any bottled water in my house. Do I have that?
Mental note.
Yes.
I need to go get some today.
Checklist. I need to have a mental checklist. Water.
A little pepper inside you.
Do I have enough canned whatever? Even if I've bought cans of whatever, corn or something so that I don't need to be a burden on anybody else going to the grocery store during that time. Do we even think like that anymore? Mm-mm. No, but your grandmother did, because she jarred, she canned, right? And all of our grandparents and great-grandparents did during the Depression, during that type of stuff. I
My
think
mom
it's
still does,
responsible
actually,
living.
which is good. Not as much as, I think. But it seems to be, very, there's like a little niche of people starting to come around and doing a little bit more of that. But unfortunately, it feels sort of trendy, I think, for people. But, really it should be, hopefully
Totally.
it's becoming something where it's just, hey, this is what we need to do. It's like our conversation earlier, back to the roots of it all, convenience, the way that America is. It's fast moving, crazy, all the stress. And then, we're eating terribly when really if we just slow down and got back to the basics, things would be
you can even do it. You don't even have to have your own garden, which I would still suggest.
Yeah.
But you come to the farmers market down here on a Saturday, every other Saturday. You could load up and can all that if you wanted to, and it's all locally and organic.
Yes.
That'd be an easy way to do it if you don't want your own garden.
Somebody else, so which is cool.
I canned a little bit this year, and it all went bad. It was horrible.
What?
Yeah, it all went south on me pretty
we
fast.
canned one item.
When
We're not even doing it either.
So what with you wanting to experiment with food and everything, I'm surprised that you're not going that route also, because there's a lot of things that you can jar or can, right?
Oh yeah.
And we should do more here.
I mean,
we don't do. You won't see tomatoes on our menu, for instance. I'm sorry,
That's okay.
but in the winter because they're just not in season. But if we canned some tomatoes in the summer, you'd be able to use some in the winter. But
Yeah, definitely.
it wouldn't be the fresh tomatoes,
But
but
you're
at least
right.
be something.
You're right. You'd be able to
Yeah.
do something. But
Yes.
But the idea is to have something when in the wintertime, which you
Sure.
wouldn't have anyways. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a great idea.
Okay, so you guys started this venue 2 years ago, right? February, 2-year anniversary in February.
Yep.
You guys
Yeah.
gonna plan anything special? You gonna
Last
go
year
nuts?
we did like
I don't know.
we did live music and
yeah,
we had a nice little night. It was fun. A lot of people showed up and regulars.
That's awesome.
It was cool. Our 1 year, so we'll do something. I think for our 2 year, we haven't gotten that.
yeah,
far
we haven't yet.
on the path.
No.
Is this a place that's like you have to make your reservations?
Yet. No, I wish.
not.
I wish it was like that all the time.
Right.
There's most nights we have open tables. I think it's a misperception because there are nights where we're really busy and people call and like, hey, we don't have anything at that time. But most nights we do have open spots for people. So we do take walk-ins and people walk in and we have people who sit at the bar and get
Yeah.
cocktails
Yep.
and bar snacks and
I love the cement bar.
Oh yeah.
I think that's great. I also loved sitting back there while you were making food. I think that's
Kitchen table is the
my
best.
son. I'm going to bring my son back here. My oldest son. He's fascinated with food. He loves food. He loves trying
Awesome.
all different types of food. He couldn't be any more different from his brother and sister because they're really picky. But my son, I wanted to take him to, there's a place in Des Moines once a year. It's in September. I think it's the first week in September. Where the whole block is like foods from around the world.
Oh wow.
So you can just walk around and get little samples of different dishes from around the world, or you can
Super
get
cool.
plates or whatever. But he would dig that. He would dig
Yeah, and my youngest is the same way. He's an incredible consumer of food already, but he loves making, like, hey, Dad, can I crack those eggs? Or, hey, Dad, can I do this? Because I'm the only cook in my house. And so he
At least there's one,
At least there's
right?
one. Yeah. But he same thing. He just loves to be in the kitchen baking stuff or cooking things. So, yeah, we should bring them both here. They'd probably have a great time watching Andy do his thing.
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah.
kinda
What,
cool.
what else did you have on here? We were sitting around writing down tons of different.
Well, we talked a lot of. We wanted to bring up more of the connection to food. I like that you have that thing out front. I love the idea because you could tell us about it, what you're preparing, or we can say, hey, you know what? We know tonight we're going to have possibly these things on our menu.
Right.
That's awesome. I mean, I love the idea of connecting the front with the back, so people know that what they're going to be getting is, locally grown. I like the idea that the name of the businesses are up there as well,
Yeah,
so I can
yes.
go and great, I'm going to Google that when I get home, or I'm going to
from here.
yeah. Or I can call, absolutely. I can just figure it out that. So if I want to get some fresh vegetables that I know are locally grown, I know I can go there. That's a
you
great
bet.
idea.
All right. So is Andy kind of like? Is he kind of like a carpenter? Like a carpenter or the guy that builds houses all day long, every day. He comes home and his wife's like, "Could you just please fix the kitchen sink?"
Yeah.
Or anything like that. Is he like that at home? When you get home, do you like, all right, I've been cooking all day. My brain is wrapped around food all day long. I'm shutting down now. If you want some food, it's up
Kardashians
to you.
are on.
Yeah, the Kardashians are.
I'll let you answer that. What do you
No,
think?
I don't think so. Kind of we sit down. We don't have a lot of nights during the week. We try to have we're closed Sundays and Mondays, so we try to sit down for dinner. For sure. And you cook quite a bit. Cooks breakfast every day, gets up and cooks breakfast for the kids and eggs or French toast or whatever they want. So and we sit down for breakfast a lot, but I don't think so. You
do pretty good.
He cooks at home still, yeah. But we do certainly have, after a busy week or busy couple weeks, we're not cooking all day today.
Let's go out.
We don't want to wash dishes. We don't want to.
So you go out. You do go out to eat.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
We will go out to eat as well. So, but we cook quite a bit.
And how many kids do you have?
We have 2.
Awesome. And are they part of where do they go to school around here? Cedar Rapids?
Yeah, Grantwood Elementary.
Oh, okay.
So
cool.
yeah. You bet.
So they start off the day with a great, nutritious breakfast. None of this frosted flakes and.
Every once in a while, we'll have cereal, though, for sure. Yeah.
Carrie gets organic frosted flakes.
It's not the
ones
same.
you remember from when you were a kid, but they're still good. But we do eggs, and we'll do smoothies sometimes, and yogurts and stuff like that.
But your kids are open to all that stuff.
Kind of. Our oldest is 9, and she's much better.
She's great.
And our son
She's amazing at
is
eating good
6. He's a little bit more picky. It's interesting because it's like it takes diligence, and I don't think that kids naturally are going to be like, yeah, I'll try everything.
Yeah,
you have to put stuff in front of them over and over and over and over, and then I think you do start to see.
And do they help you? Do you incorporate them into the kitchen when you're at home? Or hey, do you want to help Dad do this or do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that helps. I think that helps a lot as well too.
Yeah, for sure.
And talking to them about it. I also one time, which actually kind of backfired on us, but we're like, we're gonna get you a can of peas, canned peas. They're like, oh, like this and that. I'm like, you guys don't understand. Your dad's a chef. I cook you fresh
This
stuff
was just
all
a
the
month
time.
ago.
Right.
You don't even get how good you have to eat it. I don't care. And I'm like, I'm gonna bring you home a can of peas. And so we bought a can of peas, and they were freaking out. We opened it up.
Son was crying tears.
And then they started eating. They're like, well, these are kind of good.
Ah, crap! That backfired. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just for this last Christmas, I went over to my mother's, and there was a green bean casserole.
Those are kind of pretty delicious.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right, I'm down with the green bean casserole. But then I looked at it and I go, okay, wait. There's really dark, kind of I'm dying beans, and then there's these really vibrant, bright green beans. And my sister goes, well, yeah, I had some frozen green beans, and then I had some stuff out of the can. I'm like, I don't even think I'm going to eat that. That's all right.
That's funny.
But it's about presentation, though, too, which is that's a kind of a big thing about
Certainly.
this restaurant is how do you present your food? Because a lot of times, I'm really into smoothies. I love smoothies. I love juices. And Valerie Butanko from Raw Family, she always talks about when you do these blends, when you do these dark leafy green blends, you should put them in a pretty glass. Present it in such a way that you're like, yeah, this looks great.
Yeah.
Now, I don't do that. I put it in a shaker bottle and I
chug
take
it
with me because I'm good with that.
for sure.
But with my kids like that presentation. They like helping me put the stuff in. They're smelling the fresh ginger. They like that stuff. So the presentation that you guys have here, I mean, you don't get that at other places. You get a plate, it's just flat, slapped down. Hardee's, there's no presentation,
Right.
But it makes you feel good about the food, and it makes it feel
definitely.
brighter and more nutritious just because of how you present it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
they do. They take a lot of time to do that, and we also explain the dishes when we put them down. Some folks you can tell they kind of just want to, we'll take our food, and you don't need to do a bunch of explaining, but we certainly focus a lot on pointing out the elements of the dish. So a lot of the items that they use are not necessarily super familiar to a lot of folks around. I think they are quite often, but I think that's important for people as well. Helps a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Striking a balance between familiarity, but also unexpectedness.
Mm-hmm.
And something that we particularly like is a familiar flavor or familiar ingredient that's presented or made in an unexpected way that you haven't seen before. You know what I mean?
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, I've had this before, but never like this. And one of my favorite things to hear from a customer is like, I've always hated X. I've always hated X. I tried it tonight when you made X, and I like it like that. And like that's the best compliment in the world.
All right,
Well,
I got one for you. I can't stand sweet potatoes.
Oh, you
They're
do?
like my least
No
favorite thing in the
kidding.
whole world. I'm one of those weird people that if you I think a potato should be bland, and so that you add sweetness to it. I have a hard time
Yeah,
with that.
no,
It's like
that makes
salads. Like if I have anything besides lettuce and vegetables, if there's chicken or eggs and stuff on there or cheese,
Cranberries.
drives me crazy. Right. So those sweet potatoes were fantastic.
And you had the sweet potato like sauce, right? So that was neat. When you were explaining the dish, I was like, sweet potato sauce. Because if you wouldn't have said that, I would have thought, I really like that sauce.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's a salad dressing.
Right.
I wonder what salad dressing
Right.
that is. So the next time I went to
just a
Target or Walmart or somewhere,
Right.
like, God damn it, which dressing is that?
Yeah.
But that's neat that you bring that. I never have eaten Swiss chard like that.
Right.
You know, with the prep and the actual making of the dish, how long do you think that took you? Just to put together what you did for us today.
Well, gotta butcher the pork, salt it, grind it, stuff it. Gotta peel the shallots.
Okay, for the normal people who don't
Yeah, like
who
the sausage
don't create
is done.
their sausage. Let's say the sausage is done.
Okay, so you're looking for maybe it's easy to do at home kind of.
Yeah, if somebody is, I mean, what you're doing for people when they go out to eat and you're preparing and they sit when people sit down at a table and they put an order in,
Right.
and something comes out to them within 10 15 minutes.
Right.
Is that kind of your average
Yeah.
of people's wait time for their
Yeah.
food?
It is, yeah. For first
I
course.
think people get a real unrealistic idea of
Yes.
how long it should take to make food. So then you go
Absolutely.
home and you're like, all right, I want to make what Andy made because
Right.
that was delicious.
Right.
And then you start breaking it down. And you're like, God, I got to start at like 10 o'clock in the morning to get ready for dinner.
Yeah, I mean that's
a pretty easy one, though.
But that's true. I think there's a big misconception of from a chef. It's like when people come in to eat, they don't understand we are here since 10 in the morning, doing all this stuff and getting it 90% ready so that we can assemble it and serve it to you in its
Boom.
ideal space.
Right.
But but also like it's a tough one because I feel like cooking has been it's shocking things that I take for granted just as a cook and say, oh yeah, I need to talk to someone about cooking and I don't know how to I don't know how to boil water. Not literally,
Right.
but like the level that's been lost just in a short amount of time, 1 or 2 generations of the skill of cooking. It's almost gone.
Right.
Right.
And we're completely reliant on a grocery store, not all of us, but a lot of us, because we don't know what to do.
Oh, for sure.
You
But
know?
it goes back to that time thing because I think of like those Leave It to Beaver commercials where it's like the newest. Oh, this is going to save you time, housewife.
Spam.
Take this.
Yeah.
Microwave.
Spam is still an extremely popular thing to do. Have you seen that some of those spam shows are crazy? They make so much stuff out of spam. Anyways,
Oh, no, but I'm sure. There's
CBS Sunday Morning did one of those things. I think it's out of Minnesota. I think that's where the
Yeah.
spam factory is,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And they had all this stuff. They have museums of spam stuff. But God bless it.
Why did I get you on spam?
What'd you do
I
that
totally
for?
ruined your train of thought, didn't I?
You did
The
totally.
loss of the craft of cooking.
Right. So if I want to make a wonderful cake, I have a friend of mine. She still bakes my kids cakes for their birthday, and she does it all from scratch. And I think that's awesome. And I like
Amazing.
baking from scratch too. But I could see why it would be super easy. Well, I don't have time. I'll get home at 6. I'll whip together this box cake. I'll have it done by 7 and frosted, ready to go. It's all jammed full of time. I think it goes back to not only knowing where our food comes from, but how we consume our food if we take our time. Because I would love to be able to make that meal and then me get to enjoy it. Present it and enjoy it for what it is and take the time to enjoy it for what it is. And I think that all that preparation or all the easy prep stuff takes away that connection we've talked about. And I think, I just want, I'll eat half that cake, easy, But if I know it's homemade and it's from scratch, I might enjoy it a little bit longer and have 1 piece instead of 3. That's just me, though. I just think that the idea of connecting to
the whole cake because I don't know where my limits are.
A really good homemade cake, you really only want 1 piece of it. It tastes good and it satiates you.
I think you're crazy.
Well, I'm talking about myself then.
Well, I think there's a lot of things there's a lot of aspects of eating and cooking in restaurants and our society today that have been blown out of proportion. Like what was a normal size plate to use back in the 40s or the 50s?
Oh, right.
And now we have plates that
Sure.
when you go and eat at, say, Olive Garden,
that's the one that
which
takes
might
my
be
mind.
a great deal, right? I'm not saying anything bad about Olive Garden, but you get a plate that could feed a family of 5, but that's just for you.
Right.
And you're sitting there and you're looking at it, and the misconception, I think, is how we were raised. Sit there and stay there until you've eaten everything on your plate. And slowly, year after year,
That is
you're being almost brainwashed, but let's go with a nicer version of brainwash, where you're just becoming desensitized to the fact that, Jesus Christ, why is my coffee container that I got at the grocery or at the gas station, why is it that big? Do I need a 64 gulper?
Right. Yeah.
No, I mean, back in the day they had 1 cup, like your beautiful little cups of coffee that you made for me, which was delicious.
Or even the little espresso cups. You just get a shot of
and that was
espresso.
it. But now we kind of think, we need all this food. But the plate that you made me, great portion size. I ate it. We talked. It was just a very nice, relaxed atmosphere, And if people had more of those experiences, they might be able to go home and go, you know what? I don't need to make 7 bags of instant Uncle Ben's rice.
Right.
I can just go with 1, and let's present it in such a way. Let's do
Serving sizes are right.
Yeah, that's a big, huge misconception. I told my wife over and over for years, and we've been married 13 years. I have zero idea how to cook. I don't know how to prep. I don't really know the basics of cooking. I don't know what to have in my pantry at all times. I don't have those skills. I mean, when I went to school, which was back in the 90s, even home ec was kind of phasing out. It wasn't very sexy, home ec, which home ec, how do you cook?
I love home ec.
I don't know if they still have- I don't know if they still have home ec. I
That should
don't
be the
know.
huge staple
Yeah.
of school.
Sure.
Should we know what happened 400 years ago? Yeah, we should have a rough idea of it. But does that impact my life every single day, every minute of every day? No,
Yeah, that's
but my diet
really good
does.
point. Yeah.
My kids' diet does.
Yeah.
Where am I getting my food? That matters. I know of a person that did a study. They were graduating. What was it? They were graduating from Mount Mercy, and they did their thesis on, if I cook these kids a meal every morning, would their behaviors be different throughout the day? And
Count to 10 podcast.
the Count to 10 podcast. If you go to the Count to 10 podcast,
we saw that on there.
yeah,
saw
if
that
you go
on
to
your
TPSP
website.
Productions, you scroll down to the Count to 10 podcast. Simon Sanborn has videos on there that talk about how teachers can relate to kids, different ways to
Behavior
help
kind of stuff.
behavior-based type things. Well, Simon had done a thesis on that, so he was showing kids, look, I'm not only am I making you something that's nutritious for you, but there's also that bit of that love. Like, you can't not have love in that dish. Why? Because there's X amount of time that you had to put into preparing that dish. And to have little kids watching all that time, all that love, all that prep, for me, you're doing that for me? There's got to be...
That had more of an impact than the nutritional value of what I think he made.
Right.
Wow.
Right. I can't, yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because there's a lot of kids that wouldn't get that at all. There's
Right.
some kids.
Absolutely.
There's a big issue with hunger in society anymore, and you see commercials for 1 in 6 kids are left hungry.
1 in 4.
1 in 4.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these kids are going to school hoping that that's their main meal of the day, and if you don't have anything nutritious before you go to school, and then you get a school lunch, I mean. I don't know if you've seen Jamie Oliver's The Naked Chef with the school lunch program.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
I love
amazing.
that.
Yeah.
I love that show, but it doesn't surprise me that it's not on anymore.
But look at the
it's
big thing
not.
about that show is the prep. That's what always caught me off guard. Was of course he can make incredible stuff, but the prep that was involved in that show, it's like making every school in and of itself a little culinary kitchen.
Yeah.
That's what they do just for themselves. I know that there are schools
that's the way it
that
used to
cook
be.
for one kitchen in one school cooks for 4 schools, and so they make it all in this one big kitchen because that's the school that has the big kitchen
Bring
in
out
it,
the
and they
freezer
ship
bags.
it and they ship it all out to the other schools for their lunch.
Things are already kind of cooked, and all
So-
you have to do is really warm it up.
And I think the hard part too is because of the regulations, not regulations, but Michelle Obama did the Healthier Kids Lunch kind of program, they're saying now that they're having a larger waste of food than they did before because many of the kids, I guess, aren't eating the fruits and vegetables, the things that are raw that are there to eat. Kids aren't even familiar with it. And so they're like, well, I'm going to eat raw broccoli.
Well,
Right.
it's so interesting. That's the whole same thing. Like schools, the elementary kids. High school is another thing. But I brought up at a meeting once because the kids can choose chocolate milk every single day if they'd like. I brought up that concern. Why can we just have it on Fridays or Mondays or one day a week? Well,
That's a good idea.
They thought I was coming from a place of that there was too much fat in it. And I said, clearly that's not the case. I mean, well, not clearly, I guess, but it's the sugar and
25 grams.
Yeah, we're teaching these children that they that it's okay to have that every single day. And,
Sure.
and actually, I think they sent out a letter at the beginning of last year or the year before and said, this is, we've had some concerns brought up about this, but we feel that, at least kids are getting their calcium every single day. But at the same time, you're concurrently creating this horrible habit of, we're okay with you doing it this way, even though you should be doing it this way, and creating another secondary issue.
Right, and I think Jamie Oliver said that they've banned flavored milk from all UK schools.
Have they really?
Right.
Yeah, because there's just
It's
too much
insane.
sugar. And I have
that's
my
the waste
kids.
thing. So they probably are thinking, well, they're not going to drink the milk unless we give them chocolate milk.
Right. Oh, that's so
I don't know.
silly.
Well, I mean,
'Cause
one of the big
my
things
kids
about comparing the UK to us was, you had two big arguments. One was we don't allow our students to use forks and knives at a young age.
Right.
He's like, all of the students in the UK use forks and knives. Why are we dumbing our children down?
They're using probably manners, passing dish. Who knows?
Yeah, why are we saying, you know what? The weakest link in our chain, we got to bring everyone down to that level.
Yes.
Why?
You
Why
see
do that? Why not
constantly.
put better expectations on our kids? Why not say, you know what? You can do that if you want, but if you want to be better, you know what? You want to be an adult? There you go. I mean, just this Christmas, to watch how I was always dreading the idea of telling my daughter that Santa's not real and the whole tooth fairy, that whole magical ambiance of being a
horrible.
child. I just thought I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Well, then this year it was clicking. My wife said she could just see the gears turning and she was putting the pieces together. And so my wife said, "So, do you want to take one more step closer to being an adult?" And she just lit up. She was just so excited that she could be part of the part of the group, And we told her that there's no Santa, there's no tooth or Easter bunny, there's no tooth fairy, and she was, instead of being sad or depressed about it, she was excited. But I think we have that misconception because we want to coddle everybody instead of just saying, you know what, like my daughter really enjoyed being in the know. Hey, how about everybody use forks and knives? And how about we not just coddle you with sugary milk constantly?
Yeah.
How about we teach you how to be a good adult instead of saying, assembly line, get to school, drink the flavored milk. Oh, and by the way, take your ADHD medicine before you go.
Yeah.
Here's a ton of sugar.
Well,
Here's some ADHD.
I had my own child come to me and say, "Oh, Dad, I got so lucky today. Why? Oh, my buddy gave me his chocolate milk." I said, "Did you have chocolate milk?" Yeah. I'm like, so I said, "Now listen, bud. The reason why I don't want you to do that is that you just drank 50 grams of sugar before you went back to school. That's more than a candy bar. I mean, you should have just had a king-size Snickers bar instead of drinking your calories." I said, "I'm not trying to be mean. I don't want you not to enjoy your milk, but do you realize how much sugar that is?" So I'm trying to relate to him on a person-to-person level instead of just Dad just being mean and not letting me have the things I want. But if everybody else is doing it, that's the hard part too. It's like, oh, everybody wants to have chocolate milk.
Yeah.
It has to be some education in there saying this is just not good for you. But I mean,
But that's
at
also
home
a
it's
life
happening.
lesson of not falling in with the peers, and everyone has to do that. Everyone has to go out of their comfort zone and deal with teasing at times. That nobody wants to say bullying is great. I really hope my kid's bullied today. But there was bullying that happened to me when I was a kid, and if it's done in small doses, you learn from it. You learn how to react.
Right.
Guys, when you go into the military, you're so nervous, you're away from home, and how do I make that icebreaker? Well, there's so much homophobia in the military. But what's the prevalent joke? Gay stuff. You're constantly saying homosexual comments back and forth to the guys that you're in the military with, in your unit, because you're trying to deal with uncomfortable situations. Everyone's going to have to do it. There's no way you're going to get away from bullying. To coddle, to bubble wrap everybody in our society, I don't see it helping. Even our kids, I don't see that helping. Anti-bullying in school. There's a lot of time, energy, and money kind of wasted.
I think that's a crazy statement.
I think you're crazy. I think if we paid more attention.
You hear about people being bullied to the point where they commit suicide, so you can't say that it's not enough time spent into it.
If there was more attention spent on kids and families and less time spent on, it was just like what we were talking about earlier with dealing with a healthcare issue downstream.
Sure.
Okay? Dealing with bullying downstream is not the answer. Why does somebody become a bully? Is it because of parenting? Is it because they're not getting what they need? Is it about their nutrition? Is it about the fact that we have one teacher per 40 kids? Is it the fact that we have an overpopulation issue that nobody wants to deal with or address? Is it the fact that we have not enough money to adequately address each one of the students in these schools? Possibly.
I would agree with probably with all of that, but I'm saying that you still have to have something on the back end for the kids. I can't control what happens in your household. And so if you raise your kids to be these little assholes, I'm going to have to make sure that I help them understand of what's going on. Right. So maybe it's all those pieces together.
There's also that degree of nobody wants to make a decision. Nobody in corporate America wants to make a decision anymore. You know what? We're gonna give you a coaching. We're gonna give you a write up. Back in the day, I remember having these little super snaps, these little things I'd get like beef days at Solon. You'd throw it and it'd go pop.
Oh yeah,
right. Super snaps.
Been to Solon beef days several times.
I went to school.
Super snaps included.
In Solon, went down the halls, threw a super snap, hit the locker, got taken into the principal's office, and he sat me down and he had me read something, and he goes, "Do you realize that I could easily kick you out of school? You're done for throwing fireworks at somebody, at another child in my school system." And that scare factor, that serious, like these are the consequences of your actions. We're not going to coddle you. Scared the shit out of me. Did I ever bring super snaps back? No. That never happened ever again. But we coddle kids so often that there are no situations really that a kid could do besides take a knife to school or a gun to school, and they're like, "Nope, we're not going to take you back." I mean, we have kids in classrooms with other kids. 85% of the kids in that classroom are doing fine, well behaved, acting like normal kids. There's one or two kids in that classroom that are fucking bonkers. Crazy.
Right.
My son has that in his class.
Nothing's
ever done about it.
I've gone in.
I shouldn't say that.
And I'm reading to, I'll take those days where my wife and I go in and we read to the class.
Yeah, do that too.
And there's one or two kids that are just like they're playing Tarzan through the classroom, and I'm thinking, how can anyone pay attention? How can my kid really be expected to pay attention and learn anything with a distraction like that? And what's more fun? As a kid, that kid's climbing all over the place, and he's not getting taken out of the class, or he's not getting expelled. He's going to come back tomorrow. There's nothing that's going to stop him from doing that. Even the medication that he's on isn't stopping it. So that looks like a lot of fun. Maybe I'll act up like that a little bit. I don't know how we got down this rant. I'm going to stop.
No, you're on it, buddy. Shit.
But it's things like bringing stuff to children and having them experience it, like natural food, like cooking at home and trying something over and over again. I think that's what we're kind of missing.
Yeah, and my oldest, he is kind of picky, one of the pickier eaters. But I could easily see him eating that, because it tasted so good, and I often do that as I'm eating something, going, I wonder if he would like this or not.
He put a bowl of ramen noodles on the menu recently. So hey,
like
you had ramen noodles.
You make it yourself,
item.
Or is it out of the packet?
No, we make a like 4-day long broth.
Relatable item.
I miss ramen noodles, but I don't eat it anymore because it's so horrible for you.
Yeah.
Oh, I might have to come in just for the ramen.
I know there's
noodles.
something that tastes. It's like that's a
I
guilty
mean, it's
pleasure of ours.
it's a huge dining. It's a huge food culture in Japan.
Oh, sure.
Kind of taken,
Yeah.
like with chefs in the country and making ramen.
Larger
like,
cities
the
are doing some
broth
cool
and,
stuff.
Different things like that. So we got kind of keen to do it. We have like bacon syrup with it and poached egg and pickled vegetables and a big bowl of broth and tell people to slurp the broth.
Oh,
It's fun,
Shazam. That
it's good.
sounds
Dude,
so good.
what's like your most time-consuming part of a recipe? Like a favorite recipe, and you're like, oh, it takes 4 days. Is there something crazy like that?
Yeah, it really just depends on the technique that we're utilizing, what we're doing. Like some things have a lot of inactive time. Like for New Year's Eve, we had a dish where we made cured egg yolks. So we put egg yolks in salt, pack them in salt, and they it pulls the moisture out and they harden, and you can actually grate them like cheese. It takes 15 days.
Salty egg yolks, delicious.
Whoa.
Really?
So
And it's worth it.
yeah, it's cool.
pretty
But it's not.
delish.
So it's like balancing what's inactive, what's not inactive time.
That's
I
true.
try to do. Okay, I just put these in salt and throw them in the wok, and a week later they'll be ready. I'm not really doing anything, but I have to plan ahead of
Right.
time. You know what I mean?
Like baking bread, though. Like when we'll make sourdough.
Yeah, homemade sourdough bread.
I have a starter in my fridge right now.
Do you?
I do. Yeah.
Awesome.
Love. That's great skill. It's another fermented thing. But that's a 2-day plan ahead.
Roll them and
Make your
all
starter.
kinds of
Make
stuff.
And that, and that's not
Turn
that's
'em.
just one. That's just one thing. You guys have multiple things. So
Yeah.
all the little skills, all the little talents that you need to have. Time management's one huge one. Planning out what you're hoping to serve at a certain time. Planning backwards. All right, I'm hoping to serve this on Wednesday, so I need to start this
Yeah.
Monday.
Really.
How much of this do we have left? When do we need to start this? When do I need to? And then not only that, then it's like you're playing this game of I'm working with a perishable product.
Right.
So you're always like, how much do I order? I don't want it to go to waste. Is it going to go to how can I?
Right.
So
How often do you get ingredients planned for a certain dish, and then you have how often do you reuse ingredients that you had initially planned on one dish, and you're like, you know what? Okay, that 90% of the ingredients have gone bad or they're used up. How can I use this last little bit? Do you do that quite a bit or no?
Yeah, when we'll have a dish on the menu for a set amount of time, say a month or so, and then once we start getting ready to kind of transition that dish out, we'll do our prep and then start conceptualizing or working on another idea with the idea to transition it on a certain day, and then that week it'll be okay, I got enough of this stuff for another couple days of service. I'm gonna use this and use this and use this, and so you're tapering something off and then ready to start something up, hopefully seamlessly. But sometimes another thing that we do, which is really I think unique, is we do a family meal every day with our staff. So we open at 5. Everyone sits down together at 4:30 at this table, and we make food for all of our staff every day. Just
Really?
whatever we have left, or and we'll all sit down and have a meeting. We talk about the night, talk about the menu, talk about wine. We all eat together, and then
that's
start
great.
Start our night.
Well, I used to work at a place called the Wine Cellar Cafe in San Rafael, California.
Oh, wow.
And they had a chef there, and before, when I came I just was the bartender. When I came in to bartend, along with the servers, they made whatever was going to be on the menu that day, and we all ate that, so that when people asked us about it, we can say,
Yeah.
oh yeah, this is really good, or I really like this because of this, or I suggest this with whatever wine you're having.
That's huge, though.
Yeah.
Huge. to
It makes you
them.
feel part of
Yeah.
it. I mean, it's hard when I would imagine it'd be hard when you walk in and say, what's the specials? Okay. And you just have to, you just kind of regurgitate it.
Yeah.
Instead of saying,
Absolutely.
oh, this today when I tried this, I really enjoyed the flavors of this and this. And
That's such a neat idea,
Yeah.
and to have everybody feel like they're a part of it. And,
family. That's cool.
yeah, making that meal for everybody. Did you see that? Where did you see that? Where did you come up with that idea?
That was just the common practice. I mean,
Yeah.
New
Restaurants in New
when
York.
I first started out
Yeah.
there, just
Both of us
everyone
worked in
made family
restaurants
meal. Yeah, her
that
too.
did that. Mhm.
And it's not only is it cool because you have a chance, but then it's you have something to eat before you start your night, and then at the end of the night, you're not I'm gonna put an order in for food, and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then the kitchen's I got to make all the employees food because they're hungry and they're putting orders in for food, and it just takes that all out of it. But it's
But the main part of it is
the main
sitting
part
down
of it is
together.
just sitting
yeah.
down together enjoying a meal. And I feel like the employees feel like, wow, like a lot of people who start here are like, you guys do this? I'm like,
This is
yeah,
awesome.
every day. Like, I've never seen that before. Like,
Yeah, that's actually very surprising. I'm surprised that you did that because I've never heard of that before.
Yeah,
I've never
I
worked in a restaurant like that. I've worked at Hardee's.
Yeah.
And we didn't do that. We didn't make a meal and everybody comes over. No.
Yeah, they would do that out.
that's
Out east, it was
standard.
something that was just standard, and I'm sure there's places that don't do it, but at the same time, it was
I mean, I don't
it was
know.
awesome.
Yeah.
Carrie, sorry. Do you usually do a lot? Do you wait tables in here, or how do you help? Are you the hostess with the mostess? What's your
I mean, I
role?
kind of do everything. I help. I just assist everywhere in
Okay.
the front of the house. So, no, I'm more of just a general manager, but I will bartend on any given night. I'll help behind the bar. I'll host. I will run food. I will bus tables. I will just be a manager. So yeah, everything.
Where do you
But I
see a
don't-
need, you step in?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not actually scheduled for shifts in that
Okay.
way, but sometimes for hosting. But it's more of a hosting/managing kind of situation.
Okay.
But yeah, I just yep.
And how many employees do you
Support.
guys currently have right now?
About 25-ish.
Really?
Whoa.
Maybe not.
No,
No, more
less
like
than that.
I'm sorry, but close to under 20.
15.
Really?
15.
Why am I thinking 25?
I have 1, 2, 3, 4.
How many bartenders do you
I
usually
know it's under
have?
25. I think there's a line item on a questionnaire where I know it's under 25.
So I think I have 4 cooks,
I guess, yeah.
2 dishwashers, so I have 6.
I have about 10
And you have
employees.
So 16.
16.
About
When-
10.
And your bartender is it Josh?
Josh.
Is he the
Josh.
main? Is he the main bartender for
we
you
have
guys?
2
or?
main bartenders,
Okay.
and they've been with us since day one, and they're pretty.
I'm telling you, Josh
fantastic,
fits
so-
like the perfect bartending. The whole image of a bartender is Josh.
Yeah, I think it's the mustache.
Well, and we do a
Oh,
lot
it's,
of.
it's the tattoos. It's everything. the way
Yeah,
he
and it's
dresses.
awesome because we focus a lot on kind of old classics, which kind of ties into the food. Just getting back to the roots of
Yeah.
making a good cocktail and making good food. And
Well, the good
he's
cocktail goes with the good
amazing.
food. I mean, that's
Yeah.
kind of the way it's
Yeah.
supposed to go, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he fits that kind of prohibition era. Kind of
There you go.
a little
That's exactly
edgier
what
version of it, but
he needs. Those little armbands. And
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
yeah.
Yeah, when you have people apply out here to help you cook, like, what do they need to have? What would they need to have on their resume that you're like, yeah, I feel comfortable you coming in here, and do you mentor them for so long before you kind of like
a sous chef, kind of. Or
What we do is we do it's called a stage. It's a French word. It's basically working for free without pay. So we do a 1 or 2 day stage. So
internship?
Yep. So
Yeah.
if I'm looking to hire, I'll say, hey, I have a spot open. You must complete a 1 or 2 day stage. It's everyone does it here. So the person shows up on their stage day, and when we get here and say, okay, and we have them just kind of help us out, give them tasks. We watch them, we see how they work, we see if they're efficient, if
Can use
they're
a knife.
lazy, if they can use a knife, if they clean up after themselves, if they're a slob, if they're respectful, if they stay till the end of the day, if they clean, if they're not late. I mean,
They smell like booze.
I mean, yeah, I've had to run the gamut. I've had people come in here like obviously are hungover. I've had people come in here who are great. People come in here who are wasted.
Or stoned, I think. I don't think anybody's come in wasted.
That one guy, this one guy came in. I don't know if he was stoned, but he was a heavy drug user, and he was kind of just like asking
Barely
weird
with it.
questions, and I'm just like, so
It's very revealing. The stages are
if
very
you get
revealing.
through that, if I see a massage come in and like if he has downtime, he'll grab a broom and he'll start sweeping the back and wiping down tables and say, what do you need me to do next? What do you need me to do next? Like, okay, I'm going to
That's a
hire
great
you
sign.
1,000
Great sign.
times over. Someone
Right.
comes in who thinks they're a badass and is kind of lazy and
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it does. So what's on their resume, I don't really give a shit about. I care more about
A little bit.
how you are, and what
But-
you can show me.
That's
Well, and the
'Cause we have a local-
stage.
Stage.
stage. Yeah, and it's spelled stage. Like,
Okay.
or actually, is there an e?
I don't-
You
I
had
don't know
it?
if there's
A
any
stage?
Stage. So that is French.
It's
right?
stage,
Yeah,
so.
But that tells you if somebody's willing to invest in their future. Well, I'm not
Sure,
working for
yeah,
free.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for 2 days you will. If you want a nice paying job and be part of something that's
Right.
productive,
Yeah.
you'll give some of your time
Yeah.
to
For
learn
sure.
something.
And you also know if that's for you or not. I mean, the whole
Exactly.
idea of internships.
Yeah, it's a mutual.
Especially for
Yes.
kids
Yeah.
or, coming out of high school or you're still in high school. I really want to be a doctor. Are you sure?
Yeah, are
I really
you
want to be a
sure?
lawyer.
Right.
You positive?
Yeah.
Why don't you go be a stage
Right.
Yeah,
for a little bit?
Yeah.
Why don't you go do the internship thing for a little
Yeah.
bit and you figure out the bookkeeping's not so great. You don't want to be an accountant? You're just going to sit there in a little cubicle.
Yeah, it's a lot of...
You want to be a chef? You want to own your own place? Follow Andy around for a couple days and see all the stuff that goes into it, all the prep work, all the thinking, all the math. And it's almost like being a chemist. I mean, I know you got your degree in biology, right? But that has to somewhat transfer over to how you look at food and how the normal person isn't going to make those ties with the different ingredients, you know?
It's true. Absolutely.
You put this in at a certain time or a certain way. If I would have waited a day later, or if I would put it in 2 hours too soon at the wrong temperature.
Or these things mixed together have this flavor palette that I'm looking for. I mean...
And know how things react together.
It is a big chemistry experiment. It really is.
Art meets science.
It's kind of, art meets it, but like it's basically you're messing with time and temperature and humidity and acidity and salt. Organic.
Well, then I'm not surprised that like a good cocktail goes along with a good meal, because I didn't start. Josh and I were talking about it because I started having whiskey on the rocks that I really liked it, but he was saying if you use a round cube, you have a longer time period to enjoy the right flavor of the chemical breakdown of that alcohol.
Right,
your dilution
it.
The dilution,
but the changes the flavor. And I have a doctor friend of mine I make beer with out in Iowa, and he talked about all the chemical reactions. He's a microbiologist. All the chemical reactions that take place between the water and the alcohol that actually changes the flavor, and that it makes you enjoy it a little bit better if that's the flavor you're looking for. And that's so crazy.
It is great.
And I like the idea of food being the same way. If I mix this acidic thing with this thing that's got more of a base in it, maybe the flavors that come out are a little bit different.
Right.
That's cool. To think about food that way is exciting.
Yeah.
I like that.
How has there been a big impact with your family and your extended family with what you do and how you prepare food? I mean, has it kind of permeated into your brother and your parents? And
I think to a certain extent it has. Yeah, I think that there's been definitely a lot greater appreciation for things that they probably wouldn't have tried without me being like, hey, check this out. Wow, that's, and like start to, as with like people who drink, really nice coffee, it's like before the fact you don't even know it exists, but you start drinking really nice coffee and then you go back to Maxwell House and you're like, hell no, right?
or is it ever the opposite where everybody's like, oh, sweet, Uncle Andy's coming. We don't have to do anything today.
There's a little bit of that.
I think it used to happen more than it does now.
Yeah, they're pretty good about it.
I think for a while it did, actually.
And I always get pulled in and, like...
But that's so fun.
But it's fun.
Yeah.
I think
that probably is a fun time, I bet.
Like, yeah, can you make this, or can you show me how to do this? Is this ready? And, like, it's really funny. Like, I'll start telling my mom or dad something, and they'll be like, are you sure? And I'm like... It's like telling a doctor, like,
right.
Oh, you don't know how to cut. You're a surgeon. You don't know how to do this surgery. Are you sure? You're like, well, stress.
I kind of know. I went to school. Have my own restaurant. Hello.
You want to do that? That's cool.
That's hilarious.
But do you understand the chemical reaction that's happening right now? I don't think you do.
Yeah, but even at the holidays, it's like. Brought home oysters. We had a bunch of oysters that were gonna, we closed down for a week so everybody could just hang with their families, and brought a bunch of oysters that we had left over. And all the kids were, not all of them, but a lot of the grandkids and cousins and everybody, they were trying oysters for the first time in their life, and so that's
cool.
fun.
Yeah,
it's fun to do that stuff.
Cool.
Fried?
Yeah.
No, just raw. Just shooters.
Oh, half shell. Oh, wow. Like you really had oysters.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of course, something in
we just started
container of some
we
sort.
just put them on the menu a couple months ago. So
yeah.
I mean, how much more at ease would you be to try something if you knew it was being prepared by somebody that's what they do for a living, instead of me like coming home and saying, "Hey kids, you want to try some oysters? I got them from Target.
Right.
I just I think I put them in the microwave. I don't know. Let's check them out. I'm pretty sure you don't serve them raw.
Right.
Put some ketchup on them.
Yeah,
good condiment.
More ketchup. Just a little bit more.
I've only had raw oysters a couple times with I think what sauce do people tap a little bit of? Was it Tabasco? That's not the right sauce. Is it Tabasco? I've had that before, but I can't do raw oysters very well.
They're super cool too because, and we're just starting. I'm personally just starting to learn a lot about them, but I do all the wine here, and so it's taste all the wine. So oysters are kind of cool. They're very relatable to that actually. If you get into oysters, they're pretty fascinating. They're very much like wine, like the grapes. The terroir where they're growing, like the dirt and the soil, and just like with oysters, where they are living, the waters that they're in, East Coast versus West Coast, what they're consuming, what kind of algae or plankton or whatever they're feeding on, it
Oh, wow.
totally affects the flavor of the oysters, which is really amazing.
Yeah.
So they're really fun if you ever
Oh, that's
get
cool.
stoned into them.
Oh,
yeah.
God, I had no idea that
If you're into
stuff was-
wine, same thing with coffee. Coffee, wine, they're very similar in that
Expressions of where they're grown.
of where they're grown. Yeah, exactly.
Now,
So they're pretty
from-
fun.
From doing, I did like a 9-day juice fast. This was like a year or two ago. But one of the things that I pulled from that was your taste buds. My taste buds changed during that time. Like something that I was barely getting down at the very beginning of this. I thought, like halfway through, I'm like, oh, I can really taste that ginger. I can, like, you actually start breaking things down. And for the people, the normal run-of-the-mill person that comes in here to eat something that your guys' taste buds are very, I would guess, attuned to that.
Yours are really,
like you're talking about, the dirt and the smell, and it's earthy, and you can appreciate all these different tones in the food and the flavor. Do you think that the run-of-the-mill person that comes in and eats gets that, or how could somebody maybe get to a level to where they could more appreciate their food? Because for the most part, we're just shoving crap in our mouths and going, McDonald's, that tastes pretty salty. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
But I mean, how do you go from that to truly appreciating like a fine wine? And is it wine classes? Is it little classes like that somebody would have to do to really appreciate it? Or is it just coming into a place like this and having the server say, when they give you the dish, this is what this is, and this is what this is, and this really complements that, like what you guys are doing.
Yeah, I think it's a I mean, I think as with anything, you got to want to be interested in it before you really appreciate it, probably, or you think that it's cool or special. I mean,
Sure.
I'm sure.
Yeah, even if you don't have a knowledge base, I think the desire is...
Because I'm sure there's things I come across or that we come across that we don't really care about, that there's details blowing by us because we're not looking for them, with
Or we're
different
not open
things.
to them, yeah.
Or like, yeah.
You're right.
So I think that would be the number one thing. And then, I think that people recognize certain things on a level of like, okay, that steak was cooked really well and seasoned well, and that sausage wasn't overcooked. It was juicy and flavorful.
Right.
Because I know when to pull out of the pan and not put it on the grill for a half hour until it's dried out. So there's those things that we're doing that you might not know we're doing, but like when you eat it, you're like, wow, that was good. Like, I don't quite know why that was so good, but that was really good. And it's like, well, I could tell you we did this, and this, but hopefully that stuff.
How often do people ask you? How often do people say, that was delicious? How did you make that?
Every once in a while, we'll have people come up to the kitchen table and say, hey, this or that, or they'll ask a server and say, hey,
Yeah, they will.
Like, you can tell they're into it, or they're into food, and so sometimes I'll go out and be like, hey, this is how I made this soup. We had this soup on the menu the first spring we opened, and so I'll tell you so that you guys will. This is a good little story. The only frozen vegetable that I'll use that are awesome, frozen peas.
Okay.
The peas, when they're harvested, they have a lot of natural sugar in them. And the longer they sit, their sugars convert to starch right after they're picked because they're getting ready to
It's almost like ice wine.
Yeah.
Grapes. They freeze grapes sometimes.
Yeah. And so they flash freeze peas, baby sweet peas. And they're really sweet and they're green. So I made this chilled soup that we served, and the ingredients were peas, water, and tarragon, which is a herb that kind of has like an anisey flavor. Quickly put the peas in hot water just to get the chill off them, throw them in a high-speed blender, tarragon, water, and puree them, season them, chill it really quick over ice, bright fluorescent green, a hint of tarragon, and then we pour it tableside chilled, and in the bowl we had like whipped cream that was flavored with lemon and some rye crackers and some chive blossoms.
Chive
My
blossoms,
mouth
yeah.
is just watering.
Yeah.
And this lady came in and
Wow.
she had it, and she came in like 6 months later and she's like, I had that pea soup. How did you make that? And I was like, told her it was like peas and water and tarragon salt. That's it. So it was just and it's like just this simple technique. There's just elegance in it, but it's crazy and it's like good, but like you would never think it, kind of. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think that kind of stuff's cool. Like, I feel like the better you get at something, the easier it is to make something elegantly good by simple things that, like a basketball player makes it look easy, and you're like, God, he's so good. It's so easy for him, but like it really takes a long time to like get to that
to that level.
Yeah. Not that I'm at any good to the level of that, but like just anything that people do, just the more time you're putting into practicing it, and then you start to make it look easy and elegant. And that's a dish, I think, to me that would kind of exemplify that a little bit.
Going back to, like you said, a carpenter who doesn't fix the pantry door from his wife because he's been doing carpentry all day. Do you ever watch any food cooking shows at all ever? Is that something that's just like, ugh?
I don't have any opposition to them. Like when I see them, I don't really watch TV ever.
Okay.
Because we're always here.
You're always here. Kids.
Go home at night. We have 2 kids. On the weekend, I don't watch sports. I don't watch football. I never watch anything.
You watch
like
tutorials,
that.
though.
See?
You find like cooking tutorials of famous chefs, though?
Watch stuff on YouTube, or I'll search YouTube,
Yeah.
like a lot of YouTube videos, or we watch Netflix stuff, but like never like sit down and watch cable television.
Like Anthony Bourdain or something like that.
I watched that recently.
Yeah, we love that. That's pretty awesome.
You picked the
He's
one
awesome.
show. Good job.
The one on CNN.
He's amazing.
We went to France with Daniel Boulud. One of my buddies was like, oh, you should watch that. And I should watch more of that stuff because there's so much information in it, but that was awesome.
Well, the cooking shows, the reality cooking shows aren't that great. Those are kind of silly.
Yes.
But I think people like Anthony Bourdain, he's a little edgy, I think.
Yeah,
and on top of it, he's a pretty serious chef, too, wasn't he, at one point?
Yeah.
And then he goes to all these places. And that's my favorite part of that show is watching him go somewhere. And I thought, oh my God, I had no idea the history that was seeped in that. That's why my wife makes fun of me of what me watching. I watch this drinking show with Zane Landry. It's called Chug. It's probably not the best name. But
that's elegant.
He travels all over the world sampling the local beverages from where they're at. So it's almost like Anthony Bourdain's show, but just plainly liquor-based. And he's had a lot of different shows like that. This is the first crowd-funded show. He got all the money for the show from, I think it's Kickstarter. But again, it introduces you to more things. Right. That's why I like it. I like watching those shows not because I watch him drink for an hour. Right, yeah. It's because he's with some guy that's climbed a palm tree, and they have a jar of coconut milk fermenting in this jar up in this tree, and he brings it down, and it's full of flies and everything else, and they just pour it into his hand and they drink it. And so it makes me cringe as well. But he's like, wow, that's incredible, those flavors. I've never, then they actually put it through a strainer and they actually drink it like normal.
Wow.
But he's like, I would have never even known they did anything like that unless I saw that show. Amazing, so it's kind of cool.
It is cool. It's like the more you learn, the less you know.
Right.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
Right.
And then you get so much stuff in your head. It's just like, now what do I do? How am I going to utilize all this information I just filled my head with?
Now, if you think that we're just blowing smoke up these nice people's rear ends, we're not. If you go to Yelp and you type in Cobble Hill,
some good reviews.
You guys got 4.5 stars out of 5. Do you guys ever I had a bad day, I'm going to go to Yelp. I'm going to see what people are there.
I stay away.
We are the shit.
Away from Yelp.
Finally, a restaurant in Cedar Rapids.
Some people don't like Yelp.
Yelp, I think it's hard. I think there's a lot of people that are legitimately writing a good review or a fair, not necessarily good, but a fair review. But there are a lot of folks out there that are just
not a little.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. Not a lot.
Vicious.
There is a
trolls.
There are a cluster of folks that you're right. I didn't mean a lot.
Well, that's hard because you want a good review or you want an honest review,
just honest
of things. But I mean, you don't have to be really mean about it.
Lashing out. But anyway, I stay away from them.
Here's my outlook on them because
I lean on my staff
to
give me feedback.
Why Carrie stays away from them, because it's hard to read a bad review when you're putting your heart into something.
Sure.
But the way I see it is like, okay, I go to TripAdvisor, go to Yelp, and I just go, okay, well, let's look at the distribution, okay? That's fine. There's always going to be an outlier. You go to the nicest restaurants in the country and look at their Yelp pages, they're going to have outlier, terrible reviews. Are the majority of your reviews good? Yes. Okay. When people go to your Yelp page, are they going to take away that you're a good place? And actually, I think the more, even though it sucks, it is, I feel like a real equalizer, because if there's a shitty restaurant and you go to their Yelp page, it's probably going to have a majority of shitty reviews. if there's a good
Right.
restaurant. It's like it's the bell curve.
And everybody gets
Right,
shitty reviews.
sure.
Everybody does.
Well,
But
that's
it's
what
just hard to-
that movie Chef that we were talking about earlier. That was one of the things in there was that he was battling the owner. Well, I thought we were in this together. No, this guy is coming to review your food. Don't do something new. Do what you have been doing
Right.
because I want to get a good review from this guy who then it's going to be in the LA Times or whatever. And he's like, well, I have this whole new menu ready to go. Everybody says that's awesome. No, you're cooking what I tell you to cook. Then he gets a horrible review from that food that he cooked. And a whole dramatic thing ensues.
Because it's tired and old and nothing fresh and new, and so he gets a bad review because the food's sucks or because the food is.
I think the food is like basically the food is just what he has been cooking. And it's not anything new and fresh. And he's saying, well, I want to try something new. And the guy's like, I just want to stick with what I know works. Let's not, rock the boat right now.
Yeah.
Let's just keep doing what we're doing. And so that's where he kind of goes off on his own.
Which is the
But-
exact opposite of what you guys do here
Right.
at Cobble Hill. You don't just have X dishes on your menu. So how many dishes do you have on your menu at any given time?
So we have 7 apps, 5 or 6 entrees, 4 desserts.
Okay. And then how long do they usually stay on the menu?
A quarter of the year, 2 to 3 months usually.
Okay.
Depending on, that's not set in stone, but, you can start to feel it when you're like, I got to change this dish. I got to change
Is
this
it
dish.
just kind of go with the seasons a little bit
Yes,
then?
definitely.
Very seasonal,
Yes.
seasonal based.
Is it tough to have a restaurant in Iowa when it's that when we really are? We have winter for
I know.
7-8 months. It
hard,
feels like
yeah.
sometimes.
I was actually just reading a chef's cookbook in Copenhagen, and he's talking about seasonality in spring, and he's like, April is the biggest bitch ever because everyone gets a fresh day, nice day, and they're expecting to go out and get like fresh salads and peas and asparagus, and it's like, it doesn't happen till May. You're not getting anything in April, so you're like
Yeah,
in this
people
like
want
void of like, I still have to use old winter stuff. I don't really have anything,
Right.
and that's so true. I was like, God, I can relate to that because I'm like farmers. Hey, when's asparagus? Not for another 3 weeks, dude. I'm like, oh shit.
Right.
It's like it's April, it's spring.
Yeah.
Flowers are coming up.
Are there
People want
are there any good greenhouse farms around here where you can get some of those things that aren't as common?
Yeah, there are.
There are, okay.
And so
It's starting to
we-
pop up more, I think,
We
but-
try to integrate. That is another challenge of like trying to be getting everything local. It's hard. You can't do that always here.
Right.
So like in the winter, like I still have guys who have sweet potatoes, onions, radishes, pumpkins, winter squashes.
It's like
I can
mushrooms.
still get
It's like a
mushrooms.
mushrooms.
But outside of that, there's not. I can't really get a lot, and it's hard. And then so you have to balance that with, the people eating here. I can't serve everybody pumpkin and sweet potato. Like I
Right.
could, but I don't know if I want to do that yet. Or if I'm ready to do that. So there has to be some integration of some, vegetables that aren't necessarily from Iowa.
Yeah,
that
we
I'm
never
using,
say
you know what I mean?
exactly, and we never say we're exclusively
Yes.
local. We're exclusively organic. We're certainly not. That we do the absolute best.
Best
we
you can. Yeah, you're limited.
Yep, exactly.
We
yeah.
are always cooking everything from scratch and cooking
That
it
is true,
fresh.
yes.
But we're not always using local organic.
Do you ever have anybody come in and say like, oh, I mean, like you talked about, right, we were talking about that restaurant where they're using food that people weren't going to use otherwise, that was donated to them. You ever had a farmer come in and say, oh, hey, I have this big bushel of this that I'm not sure what I'm going to do with. Would you be able to use it? Like you said you had done in New York. Has it happened here? Or somebody comes and goes, I have a bunch of venison that I'm not going to use. Would you be able to use it in
Cantaloupes. once?
Cantaloupes once. We had end of this summer. We had Brian, the guy who we get eggs from, one of our old cooks, stepdad, and he has hens, and I buy eggs from him. And in the summer, he has a little garden. He had like 100 pounds of tomatoes. It's like,
Oof.
I have all these
Yum.
tomatoes. I was like, should we bring them in? We'll do something with them. Like 25 cents a pound. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Because they're like, you can't use them. Some are getting old, and like you said, like it's a shame to waste that.
And if
Can
you're not
Jane-
canning them,
Can it?
if you're not prepping, if you don't have your bug out bag, those
you
are
big
the things you're going to go to raise.
Remember that term, bugger?
What a
yeah.
baby. You're such a
Hey,
such a
Galen
baby.
Bontrager. Bontrager?
Yeah.
Galen? We're going to be doing a podcast with him. He's in Kelowna, Iowa.
Awesome.
Basically, anything you see on the laptop is also going to, you can see snippets of it in the podcast later. But he does polyface farming. Have you guys ever heard of that?
Have you heard of that?
Yes. Is that the?
So you're kind of
He's
rotating.
out in Virginia, the main
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
He was in
Yeah.
the Michael Pollan book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moore's Dilemma, right? He
Yes,
follows
you're
him
right.
For a while.
Yep.
And how he rotates all the animals through different crops. And so the cows aren't standing in their own feces forever. They're moving on, and then the chickens come through, and when they go to the bathroom, it kills the bacteria from the cows. So nothing is sitting there kind of like causing disease.
Sure.
You're like creating a little farming system.
Right.
And his pigs are all in the timber eating roots and bugs because they're omnivores.
So
they're not.
Yeah,
So.
I love how he describes his cattle. They're salad bar cat. They're salad bar beef. He's like, why is it salad bar beef? Because they just eat salad. They just eat the normal grass stuff.
And I called him last minute to see if he had any, like, I cooked a turkey and a roast for Thanksgiving. And I called him. He's like, "Oh, you have to make sure you call me like 3 months ahead of time." So he knows how many turkeys he has, how much roast he's going to have, things like that. So,
and we also have Grinnell Heritage Farms.
Yeah,
right.
They have some beautiful.
Well, his sister is Leah Dunham, who wrote the book we talked about earlier.
Okay.
And the dad's the vet.
Pig.
Oh, cool.
So yeah,
See if I can pull up Grinnell's just so I have a
they had
screenshot
some
of
beautiful stuff at the farmers market this summer.
Yeah, they do a lot of work with the co-op too, I think, doesn't he?
Oh, does he? Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
He delivers a lot to the new pioneers.
So do you guys ever have a downtime during the season? Is it ever just so? I mean, like
business.
Yeah, the business-wise, like I know, like places here, like bars here in town, are just like, we're not going to get any customers, so we're just going to shut down from this date to this date. Do you guys try to stay open? I mean, when do your hours kind of fluctuate during the season?
We're probably entering one of our slowest. This is January.
Okay.
Well, last year, we only have a year data to go on, but last January was slow.
No, yeah. So I'm
January.
guessing probably after the holidays and it's freezing, the weather's kind of junky.
Yeah.
But we close down for a week in the summer just for a family vacation, and
Cool.
it doesn't necessarily depend on business. And then we close down a week at Christmas just because of
For
Christmas.
you guys, for family?
Yeah, so maybe down the line, once we develop more trends, we'll close down.
Okay.
Because of business, maybe this is a slow 2-week period. Let's give ourselves another break.
Right.
But we haven't done that yet, just because we've only been open.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard because
years,
it costs money to keep the lights on. So I mean, I can see
yeah.
wgoing that would be.
Yeah, absolutely. But
and that's true. It's funny because it's like every time we're like, before we open, we're going to be closed 2 weeks out of the year, so we can have the time to go on vacation, whatever. And like, I'm so glad that we stuck to that, because even though it's a little stressful to think, okay, we're gonna be closed for a week and we're kind of
cash flow kind of like
cash flow for a week, but then it's like so worth it. Like this summer, we were closed for a week and we drove out to Colorado and rented a ranch in Paradox Valley and went to Moab with our kids and spent it. It was probably the best vacation I've ever been on ever. And so like, and I was kind of like. Not like really, I was like, this is going to be awesome, but like stressed out about closing,
Sure.
But then you come back and I'm like, thank God.
Right.
Yeah, we always say that. If we don't put that stuff first and we've failed, then we've failed all around. If we fail the restaurant, which we won't, but at least if we've kept our priorities straight, then I'm okay with that.
And we've created
truly
a culture of, you can feel, when people come in here to eat, you can feel that the staff here, the energy between us, and that it's a good place to work, and I feel like we've done a good job of creating a environment of respect between people, treating our employees the best that we can, and having a good situation. And it's come back. I think you hear horror stories of people running restaurants and it being a shit show all the time, and a lot of that I feel like is self-induced by how you choose to run a business. And I think that we've made a good choice to run the right way, and so it's been less stressful for us than maybe it could have been because of that. So that's good too.
Cool. So do you guys have anything coming up that you want to promote or talk about? And I know that you're on Facebook. Go to Facebook / Cobble Hill Restaurant, right? Mm-hmm. You guys have a great Facebook page. I enjoy that quite a bit.
Thank you.
Who does all your multimedia stuff? Do you do it?
Most of it.
You do it.
I do almost all of it.
Did you?
He does some of the
build
posts.
the website?
No, nope. Local guy did that for us.
Okay, because that's great too.
Did not do that.
And I see. You know what?
He did a great job.
The reason
though.
why I didn't recognize you right away, Andy, was because that first picture that just flashed by. Yeah. You were working behind there. You had your hair combed over to the side, and it actually turns out, I don't know if we had the record button hit or not, but I went to school with you and your brother.
Yeah.
When I was much younger.
Yeah.
And right after we did the drinks, or right after you made
The food,
that
you were
delicious
setting up, I was
food.
like, God, you look so familiar, and it popped into my head. And I was like, "Is it you? Either look just like Shane, or you are him."
Yeah. So that was actually very cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
So props to whoever did your website. It's very functional. It's very user friendly.
Yeah, Matt Ash. He's great.
Wonderful pictures and everything. Yeah, I had a very backwards idea of your restaurant, but very beautiful. I think
Thank
you guys
you.
have done a great job with the atmosphere in here and your family feel. I really dig that, how you deal with your employees and stuff like that. Your dishes are wonderful. Thank you guys very much for sitting down with us today and
sure.
letting us invade your
Thanks
space.
for thinking of us.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
thank you for
awesome.
thinking of us. It was
We don't
fun.
get we enjoy these opportunities.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
Well, maybe later, sometime down the road, you guys have something you want to promote or something special coming up. Maybe sometime in April, and you want to help people deal with the April blues.
yeah.
We'll come back in. We'll help you out. We'll have another show. Maybe come down to the studio and play
Yeah,
some
that'd be
Cards
fun.
Against Humanity.
Cool. Yeah.
What is cards? Where's that come from? Is that
Cards Against Humanity is a. Have you guys ever played Apples to Apples?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just like that, but for horrible people. Okay. So you can print it. You can download it for free off their website and print it out on your own card stock, or you can pay $25 and have them send you a set. And
And it's a local company that makes it.
you know what? I don't know where Cards Against Humanity is based out of. Do you know?
I don't know.
You don't know. But it is really catching fire. Like, there's at least 6 different people that I've talked to. Like, hey, how was your holidays? What'd you guys do? Oh, we all got together and played Cards Against Humanity. Like, no shit.
That seems like a
That'd be a good thing for our
your
family.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys would
it
love
gives
it.
you an out
His whole
to
extended
be
family.
Sexist,
so sexist, racist. I mean, all these things that were like, hey, don't do that. Don't be that way. Don't say those things. And then you play this game. It's like, okay, I can say this thing. And you're just dying laughing.
And there's things you
Completely
don't want to
inappropriate.
say. Like you read the card, you're like, oh no. I don't know if I want
Right.
to say
I
this
can't
card.
say
I
that.
can't say this out loud.
In fact,
and there was one that over this week, this holiday, because we played with his family and my extended family came over as well for New Year's Eve, and we played. It must have been 4 hours or 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
And
the kids were all downstairs.
There was like one that this lady didn't want to read because it was just too much. And when she read it, I was like, oh my gosh, how do people think of such horrible things? I've never even
Right.
even touched my consciousness.
right.
What this card said, I was like, that's unbelievably horrible. But it was funny.
It is next to maybe, dare I say, the most perfect game to play.
It is.
For adults.
Yeah.
When you just want to sit around and drink some beer and hang out
Yeah.
and just laugh and laugh and laugh.
Stomach just hurts from laughing so hard. It just doesn't ever end. And some of them are just like super simple. Like the one that made us laugh the most was Dem Titties, and it was
Dem
spelled that
Titties.
way, D-E-M.
DM.
And so, no matter what other card was read to pick,
we would throw in Dem Titties.
we'd throw in Dem Titties, and we would just be crying.
Right.
We'd be laughing. It's just so dumb. And then
Yeah, it is.
he
Yeah.
of course plans things out, so I have to read because on our podcast we normally play Cards
Lori-
Against Humanity to start
Lori-
the show.
Lori
awesome.
Moritz.
When we're in our studio, that's when we do.
She Lori Moritz is a local lady who created a product called Sweet Raw Joy.
Yeah, we've met her.
She creates these little puck-sized desserts that are completely raw, unbaked.
yes,
right?
they're delicious.
She's a wonderful lady.
Wonderful lady, sweet lady. And I was thinking before she showed up to the studio, I was like, I should probably look through these cards because I don't want to say cards that we've already said, that people are getting tired of listening to or seeing on the podcast. So
He wasn't going through them to be nice.
I went through them and I was just getting new ones. And it just so happened that Todd had to read
It was so
A
horrible.
Face Full of Horse Cum.
Oh my god.
He had to read that.
In front of this nice little
nice,
lady.
Sweet,
And so
motherly lady.
He
And
laughs.
she's playing along,
and
and
he's
I'm
laughing.
I'm laughing because I know he's got to say it. I gave him the card. He's got to read it. I know what he
And
has.
I could just feel myself just going just
Bright
different
red.
shades of red. And I'm just like, I don't feel comfortable doing this. And that's part of the reason why we do it. Is
It's
so that
like
we
an
can kind of
icebreaker.
icebreaker and just
Yeah.
hang
Just
out.
relax
At the
and-
same time. It's like, hey, welcome to our show. We love your product, by the way. Here's my Cards Against Humanity card. Oh, it was terrible. That's the only time ever that I've read a card and been like a little caught off guard myself. And usually I don't give a shit about it.
She was.
Oh,
fine.
she laughed.
was great. She laughed.
Well, because she had reverse cowgirl. She had reverse
Yeah,
cowgirl.
she had reverse cowgirl, and she was
before
like,
that.
So what is reverse cowgirl? And I go, listen, you're going to want to go home and you're going to ask your husband what reverse cowgirl is, and then take as much time as you need with it. And he's going to love it. And he's going to be like, where'd you guys play it? Where'd you hear this from? Primal Scream podcast.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So you guys should definitely get it. I
yeah,
mean, it's
Cards Against
it's
Humanity.
free. If you want to download it for free, you can. But it's $25 for the box.
Cool, yeah.
And they usually they'll give to a local charity in your area
Oh, cool.
if you buy it, which is
Awesome.
really
Yeah.
neat. I'm sorry, did you already say that?
No, I
Okay.
didn't tell him about the
I'm gonna
charity.
get it
I was
tonight.
telling him about all the other
We
stuff.
love that. We love it.
Yeah.
They give back quite a bit. So it's really, I mean, and they do things like they upped their prices for Black Friday. So just on Black Friday, it was more expensive to buy it.
That's awesome.
it's like and people
they
still
had-
bought it.
And they had a product called a box of bullshit. And it actually, I hate it when people say literally, but it literally
Yeah,
was
we
a box. It was a box with shit in it.
It was petrified
really?
cow manure.
Petrified cow shit.
It was bullshit. It was literally
But
bullshit.
they made, what was it, $20? They charged $20 a box, and they sold
all went to charity. It all went to charity.
And they
Oh my
sold over
goodness.
3,000 boxes.
And they actually had people call in and say,
That's how
"Hey,
That
we
is
didn't think this was
awesome.
what we were getting." And they're like, "What?"
We told you it was a box of
Told you
bullshit.
it's a box
We
of
told
bullshit.
you.
Yeah. So go to
They're a neat
cardsagainsthumanity.com
company.
and enjoy that. And people who are watching this have already seen all of our commercials at the beginning, and we just mentioned it right now. That's it. Should we let them go? Should we let them do their thing for the
Let them
day?
get back to their thing.
Big snowstorm coming into Iowa today.
There's no school tomorrow, probably.
Yeah.
Ugh.
School getting cut out.
Just when we were
early.
hoping to get them back to school.
Seriously.
Yeah. Carrie, Andy, thank you very much again
Hey,
for having us in
yeah.
here.
Guys, that was really wonderful. I can't wait to bring my wife in here.
Super fun.
Yeah, date night here.
For sure.
Not with
Yeah.
us, but with our wives.
Every day, every night's every day's a day.
Every day that we're
So,
together is like date night for us. So, hey,
Us
thank you
too,
very
right?
much for joining us on the Primal Scream. I'm Matt.
I'm Todd.
We'll see you later.
Adios.
Good night.
That was cool.